Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:36. Look at that. It's O'Connor and Company on this Monday morning, and it's great to be back from vacation. Larry O'Connor here with Julie Gunlock. Julie, you didn't have to dress up for me today, too, by the way. Really lovely.
Am I blinding you with my sparkles?
Coming up at 8:05, Susan Crabtree. She's with Real Core Politics and is the go-to reporter on all things Secret Service. And then at 8:35, we've got Ian Pryor, senior advisor for America First Legal. We've got some new parents who have joined the lawsuit against the Fairfax County School Board for allowing teenage boys into female restrooms, forcing students to accept radical gender ideology. That's all coming up. Great to be back in the saddle. So much has gone on over the last several weeks. 2 weeks. It feels like longer, but that's just how these news cycles go. It's a impossible task to try to figure out the best time to go on vacation.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And honestly, at one point as we were trying to put the pieces together and figure out, because Chris Plant was gone for 2 weeks too, and then Vince takes his vacation. We got to figure it all out so that we're never all gone at the same time, right?
Right.
And I have friends, I have fellow radio hosts who took vacation either the last week in June or the first 2 weeks in July, because that's the dead time. It'll be before the convention.
Right.
Nothing will happen.
Yeah.
And what happened in those times? You had your assassination attempt. You had the debate with Joe Biden.
That's right.
You had Joe Biden dropping out of the...
It's been a busy summer.
It's just been a busy summer. So we missed quite a bit. But it was always good to know that it was in safe hands with you and with Patrice, of course, and then, of course, with Andrew Langer, Joe Concha, Mercedes
I will tell
Schlatt.
you, we had a lot of fun, but we are glad you're back.
I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to be back with the Washington Commanders in the win column, as yesterday at FedEx Field for the home opener, they came through with the victory over the New York Giants. And if you like field goals, this was a game for you. Trevor Matich joins us now. And Trevor, listen, it doesn't matter how you get the W, if you get the W. But have you ever seen a team get 21 points all from field goals? That's kind of cool.
No, this was super weird, Larry. This is one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. I mean, the Giants scored 3 touchdowns. The Commanders didn't score any touchdowns. And yet the Commanders won the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably in honor of our women's Olympic soccer team winning the gold medal.
There you go. That makes sense. Well, and Austin Siebert, who is the field goal guy, he just broke the record for this, 80-plus year franchise with 7 field goals. And he wasn't even our kicker, a week ago?
No, I mean, a lot of guys on the team probably don't even know his name. Now they do. But that's good and it's bad. It's good that he made all those field goals. It's bad that he had to kick all those field goals.
Right.
Because that meant that the Commanders' offense drove it down 7 times into scoring position, and all 7 they bogged down and had to kick a field goal. And most of those drives, the reason was penalties or sacks or negative plays in the run. So they, self-inflicted problems for the most part stalled out drives. But the good news is their offense was moving up and down the field. Then they just hit themselves in the thumb with a hammer.
Jaden Daniels, you tell me, what did you think of his second game as a pro quarterback? I mean, based at the very least on the measure of when the game was on the line and he had to drive his team down the field to get in field goal range to win it, he did it, and he did it well, it looked like.
Yeah, score was tied at 18. They got the ball back with about 2 minutes to go, and he engineered an 8-play, 65-yard drive to get into field goal range, short field goal range. And in this case, they wanted to kick a field goal. So that was actually an intentional field goal there. He was largely magnificent, Larry, and he scared me. He was very accurate. They gave him a lot of short throws from sideline to sideline near the line of scrimmage, and they were able to move the ball that way down the field. But then when it was time to throw vertical shots down the middle, he hit those shots. I mean, he was accurate. He scared me because he still tries too hard to break tackles, whether it's sacks or whether it's downfield. One of them, he ran for about 13 yards. He was in the grasp of a defender, and then he couldn't be slippery and slick, which is how he avoids big hits, because he had a defender wrapping him up. A second defender came in and drove his helmet into Jaden Daniels' ribs.
Yeah.
And you just see the air go out of his lungs. And then that same defender spun Daniels around, put his shoulder into his ribs, and drove him into the ground that way. And so he left for a play, came back, kept on going. But, man, please, I hope he protects himself.
Yeah, learn to slide. Don't. And I mean, that brings up the very scary moment we saw with Tua for the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, again, learn to slide, dude, because he's too valuable of a player. What my coach used to say, what happened to Jaden Daniels, the wind got knocked out of him. Is that basically all that was the wind got knocked out of him?
Well, unfortunately, apparently so. And when he came back, it did not seem like he had a rib injury, but we will find out when injury reports come out.
Also, Brian Robinson.
He has been magnificent. Go ahead.
Magnificent
Robinson.
is the word you're using for him. That's fantastic. Well, I mean, listen, Robinson had a pretty great game, too. I mean, that's the most yardage he's ever gotten in a game as a running back in his second season.
Yeah, the 133 yards, he averaged about 8 per carry. But see, this is where the game plan was so well designed for the Commanders, because when they were throwing the ball side to side to side to side to side, the defense sort of widened out. That opened up runs up the middle. And the offensive line in the running game performed well. Passing protection, not so much. But in the running game, they opened up holes, and with the defense worried about those sideline throws, there was space up the middle, and when Robinson broke out up the middle, he had room to run, and he took advantage of it. It was a great performance by him.
And that also set up that great screen pass to Austin Eckler, I believe it was, where he got something like 40 yards, I think, on the play. But it only happened because the defensive line had to sit there at home to protect for the run, which left him wide open.
Right, and you really need 12 players to defend the whole field on defense. They only get 11, and so there's some place where there's a conflict. And so identifying where that conflict is part of the art of play calling and quarterbacking. But I'll tell you, Austin Eckler, running back for the Commanders, I'm sorry, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, finish your thought, please.
He may have, in a weird way, won this game for him because he took the opening kickoff for a touchdown, 99 yards for a touchdown. It was called back because of holding, so no points. But as he was running, the Giants kicker, Graham Gano, did his best to chase him and ended up blowing out his hamstring.
Right.
And so he wasn't available for the game.
Right.
And so that's why they scored 3 touchdowns, 18 points. Their punter missed a PAT. They went for 2 the next 2 times and failed both times. And that was a huge impact in the game.
On a play that never even ended up mattering. That's amazing. But it mattered quite a bit. All right, well, hold on, because I know that people are listening to this saying, you guys are acting all excited because of a win. It was against the Giants, who looked awful last week, number one. And number two, they didn't score any touchdowns. So is this just a fluke because they happened to survive at home in the final seconds against a bad team? Or, I mean, are you seeing some pieces here that they can put together to actually be good this year?
The pieces. In the past, the Giants have beaten them no matter how bad the Giants have been. So I don't take for granted a win over the Giants. The Giants look at the Commanders and say, look, when we're having a bad season, we love playing the Commanders because we get a win. We get to feel good.
And in the NFC East,
so there you go.
It's never a gimme in the NFC East.
No, it's weird. But the pieces are good. The fact that they didn't score a touchdown were for reasons that they can fix. I mean, the false starts and things like that in their home stadium, they can fix a lot of those reasons. It is the fact that their young quarterback is performing at such a high level in his first 2 games that gives me so much hope for the future of this team.
And let's just protect him. You heard it here, guys. Trevor Matich right there predicting we're going to beat the Cowboys in both games this year and go to the Super Bowl. I heard it. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and win the WNBA championship. The Commanders will. Yeah, it'll be amazing.
Thank you, Trevor. It's 7:45 WMAL traffic.